Hey there, hi there. It's me, Priscilla B, CEO of Single Mother Studios. So, I just wanted to let you guys know that right now I am having a little bit of emotional crisis. Yeah.
National Domestic Violence Hotline. Are you in a safe place to talk?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we are a 24-hour anonymous, confidential crisis and referral line for violence between intimate partners. My name is Evan. I have just a few questions to ask to get started. What city and state are you calling from?
Poughkeepsie, New York, 12603.
All right, how did you find our number?
I just went online and Google searched emotional abuse hotline.
Okay, have you called us before?
Yes, I have.
Okay, may I just real quickly ask your age, race, and gender for our statistics?
Yes, I am 28 years old and I am a female. I identify as a female.
Okay, new race, your ethnic background?
Caucasian.
Okay, all right, thank you. So what's going on in your immediate situation today that led you to call?
Oh, yes. Thanks for asking. So a few days ago, Saturday to be exact, I had plans to drop off some diapers and wipes and baby clothes along with a baby shower gift for my sister's friend who's pregnant. And my sister was living with my parents at the time, who are very abusive. And I tried to get a hold of her so I could just drop them off, like outside the door or whatever, so I didn't have to go in and see my parents or whatever. And she didn't pick up the phone. So I took it, upon myself to just kind of like go up to the door and like say her name or whatever because the door was like left open. And I saw my brother Jacob and he was like, "Oh, hi, Priscilla." And I was like, "Hi, I'm coming to drop some stuff off for, Bethany's friend." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And he gave me a hug and everything. And then he said that my sister was upstairs sleeping. So I ran up really quick to drop the stuff off in her room, and she was sleeping. And she said, "Okay, thanks for dropping it off." And but then my mother, who's a very emotional, physical, like violent person, has a lot of mental issues. Saw me and she was like, "Oh, get out of my house or I'm calling the cops." And I was like, "I'm leaving right now. You don't need to do that." So I walked outside and I got in my car and I drove away. And then about an hour later, I got a call from my sister Bethany and she was like, "Oh, mom and dad are kicking me out of the house. And I'm abandoned at this park that I thought the baby shower was at." And all this drama. And I was like, "All right, just hold tight. I'll come and get you. And I have work later today. So you're going to have to, just hold tight until I get out of work." So I went, I picked her up. I didn't have like any gas in my car. And then I, managed to get to work eventually. But anyways, I let her basically crash on my couch for 2 weeks because I have two children, two small children, and I have a fiance and we all live together. So he said that he would let her stay for 2 weeks while I help her, get on her feet. But that was it. That was the compromise. And day one that she was here, she was asking me for money for drugs. She was asking me for car rides. And I told her no. And this morning, she said she had a doctor's appointment, and I went to pick her up on the other side of the bridge. And I had to pick her up from the park, not even at her doctor's appointment that she missed at the park. and she didn't have any money for the toll. She didn't have any money for the gas. And, I'm a very resourceful person, and I obviously know I can't trust her, and she's a very unreliable person. So I had a backup plan, but I was trying to explain to her, like, this can't keep going on like this, and you really literally only have 2 weeks. Like, I have kids and I have a job. And she starts screaming and yelling at me in my car, shouting at me, saying hurtful things to me, being very abusive towards me. And I told her, just like, I'm gonna have to drive to the police station and drop you off there if you don't stop. And if you need to get out of my car. So I pulled off to the side of the road and I let her out of the car. And the second I told her that I was gonna leave her there, she was like, "Oh, you can't do this to me. That's so wrong." And her whole tone changed from like, "Oh, I hate you, abuse, abuse, abuse," to like, "Oh, please don't do this to me." And I was like, "No, I'm done. Get out of my car." And she got out and she's like, "Wow, I can't believe you. Like, you're such a horrible person." And I just drove away. And I'm just like really upset right now because like I don't like I just dealt with this for the last 3 days of her just like abusing me and using me and creating this toxic, hostile environment. And I don't like know what to do about it.
Well, and our resources are related to intimate partner violence, but there's certainly some things that you can look into. You're in a police station or something, or drop them off somewhere where she says she's going to be. So
Yeah. Well, she
it's up to
keeps
you whether
lying
or
to
not she.
me.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying you can give her 211 if she needs to look for emergency shelter.
All
You can give her
right.
information.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And I know that's difficult, but at the same time,
Yeah.
when here's knows that she can't be where she is now, so
Yeah.
how you get her things back to her, and be something maybe another family and you could work out how to get back to her without her coming back into your home.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try. Maybe my older sister Rachel can deal with that because um
Okay.
she's all the way up in Albany, and she said that she got into like an actual physical fight. They actually got into like a physical altercation. And they have all this drama. Like, apparently, my sister Rachel is sleeping with the ex-boyfriend of my younger sister Bethany and letting him live with her. And she has like this. Yeah, and I'm like, you guys treat each other like garbage. Like, that's like you're treating each other like garbage. Um, and also there's this other person, Nicole, and she's been best friends with my sister Rachel for like 20 years. And she's like used to Rachel and Bethany getting into altercations. So she was willing to pick Bethany up, drive her to my parents' house, and bring her back here with her blankets and her pillows and stuff. And then she did that all for Bethany, and Bethany didn't even so much as say thank you or like offer her gas money or the toll money or anything. And then last night Bethany was like, "Oh, Nicole's picking me up again. I'm gonna go hang out at her place for a little bit. Then I'm gonna go to my friends. Then I'm gonna go here. Then I'm gonna go there. Then I'm gonna go here." It was already 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, "Well, don't call me because I'm going to bed, and I refuse to do anything like that ever for you. Like, that's crazy. I'm not going to drive you around to 5 different locations at one night." And she was like, "Okay, yeah, sure." So my fiance brought some food home from work, and he gave it to her. Like, we gave her like a huge big box of like fresh food, and we told her to bring it with her, and she just left it here and just went off into Kingston, all the way on the other side of the bridge. Was like walking around all night long, going to different strangers' houses. And then at she tried to call him at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he didn't pick up his phone because he saw her calling, and he was like, "No, I'm not doing that to my fiance. I'm not putting my fiance through that. I'm not putting my kids through that. No." And then at like 6:30 this morning, I woke up at like 9:30, and I had this text from her, and she's like, "Oh, hey, I'm at this guy's house. Can you come pick me up?" And I'm like, "Bethany, you told me you had a doctor's appointment at 9:45, and I told you I would pick you up around 11:30, 12 at your doctor's." And she's like, "Oh, I didn't even go." And I'm like, "Well, like, it's like we're her personal like cab service."
Right, she
And
might do that if she thinks, she can. So right now, what you're
yeah.
able to do is you can give her information,
Okay.
and you can maybe work out with your sister how to to get her
Yeah,
feedback to her.
cause
But
yeah,
211 is probably the best resource for her because they have, and for you too, if you had additional issues, because they have victim services numbers and things like that to refer
yeah,
to in their local communities if you need that, as well as counseling resources and that kind of thing. But they're the ones who know what shelters are in the community. Is that something she's going to need? So you can
yeah,
offer that information to
definitely.
her.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate that because like I obviously, have children and I have a life and I have
Yeah, it's a
dreams and
difficult
goals.
situation.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she's just says very abusive things to me when I am around her, and then I'm like, well, why are you trying to use me as a resource if you're just going to be abusive towards me? That's not a good relationship with me after everything I'm doing for you. And she's like, oh, well, you're so self-centered or so selfish. And I'm like, I'm selfish
I'm so
because I need
sorry.
to pay my rent. Like that's just
Yeah.
life. Like that's really
Right.
ridiculous that
Yeah.
you would say
Sure.
that to me. So I went and I unfortunately I had to call the number on the back of my company card because, like I said, I drove all the way to Kingston. She told me that she had money for the gas. She told me she had money for the toll, and she did not have money for it. And I was like, you can't do this to people. Like this is not right. And then I drove to a gas station because I was like, all right, let me see if there's like even $10 on my company card, and then I can get cash back and I can get the toll done or whatever I have to do and try to use, my, I have to like be skillful right now, like, for survival right now mode. And then I'm like, can you get out of the car and try to use your cash, your app on your phone or whatever to fill up the tank? And she's like, sure, okay. And then she comes back in the car and she's like, oh, there's somebody inside that gas station that wants to beat me up. And I was like, what are you talking about? You've literally been
Yeah.
outside of my car for
Oh,
5
they do so
seconds.
much.
I know. She's like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a lot of people in Kingston that want to beat me up because I owe them money. Why would you have your sister and her baby drive all the way here if there's like
Yeah.
somebody around every street corner that wants to
Right.
beat you up? That's so rude. That's not rude. That's like really just like screwed up. Like that's so hurtful, abusive.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I would say, I mean, if you're with her at any moment, if she, and I know this would not be something anybody wants to do, but if you're with her at any moment, if her behavior escalates to the point where you feel you need emergency help, I mean, you have the right to call 911 if you need to. Hopefully that won't happen, but
yeah.
we just say that safety side. But right now, yeah, you can use her information.
All right.
211 is a good place to refer because they're a general community resource line.
All right.